and the realization that project management is a life skill. It's not just like a work skill, a school skill, a skill for professionals in certain industries. Project management is a life skill. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. My name is Kayla, and this is where we talk all about project management. If you are new here and you are looking for information, resources, and support on how to become a better project manager, then this is the place for you. I want to welcome you and invite you to subscribe and ask you to let me know what questions you have about project management, because I want to know how I can help you. Okay, on to today's topic. Today's video is something a little different. I wanted to share with you an interview that I did last week with Kris of the One Challenge, One Solution podcast. And we talked about some strategies for addressing different challenges that we face in project management. So without further ado, here we go. Enjoy.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our podcast. Today I have a treat for you, and this is person that will share really valuable stuff with you. Her name is Kayla McGuire. She's a vlogger herself. She runs her own YouTube channel, and you can find tons of valuable information there. She's a dedicated and professional project manager, project director, project organizer, person who actually can organize anything pretty much. And this is something that a lot of people have troubles with. For example, me, I can't organize even my life. And today I want to ask you, Kayla, how people can organize not just their businesses or careers, but also their lives. But first of all, welcome. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm good. It's really lovely to be here. And that is true. I love project management. So I'm really excited to be here to talk about something that I love so much.
Awesome. Well, let's learn a little bit about you and your journey. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I've been a project manager for longer than I've actually thought I was a project manager. I've done a lot of different jobs, and what I sort of learned halfway into my career is that what I was good at was this thing called project management, and I've taken that and really grown from that understanding of myself and what I'm good at. So what I do now is I consult with teams, with individual project managers. I provide project management coaching, and then I have my own projects that I manage as well with teams. And it's super interesting and rewarding because I'm always working on something different and new.
That's awesome. Well, can you tell me, I don't know, can you tell me one of the biggest challenges that you face and then you overcome recently, or maybe like in your life related to the project management?
I think the biggest challenge is always like, how do I project manage myself?
Okay.
You know, um, it's easier, I think, with any skill that you have. It's almost easier to do that for other people or other teams or other projects. But when it comes to yourself and like your personal life, it's a little bit harder to apply those principles. So for me personally, where I'm at right now, because I do have so many different things that I'm working on with my project management coaching, and then I do consulting with teams, and I have my own projects that I'm managing, and my personal life, it's been really challenging for me to figure out, how do I balance all of that? Like, how do I project manage myself? I tell people I'm really good at project management, and I do really good project management on their work, but sometimes it's harder when it comes to myself. So figuring out ultimately how to create systems for myself, which are essentially very similar to the systems that I suggest for teams and projects that I'm working on in a professional capacity. But figuring out how to implement those in my life has been a challenge. And what I've found is, like, the simpler, the better. Honestly, I have this whiteboard behind me, and I work a lot off of my whiteboard. I work a lot off of just simple notes in my notebook. I've tried other techniques and like other tools and things like that, and they could be helpful in some some ways, but honestly, the biggest challenge for me is figuring out how to simplify all of that into something where I can easily manage, because I don't have a ton of time every day to project manage myself. Like, I need to make that as efficient as possible, because I need to spend my time outwardly with my
So
teams
how are you
and
doing
people I'm
that?
working for. So what I do, and I recently learned that this is an actual method, and then I felt really smart because I was like, oh, I was doing an actual method and I didn't even know I was doing a method, but it's called the Ivy Lee method. And what I do is at the start of every day, I identify what are the most important things that I need to do for that day. And by most important, I mean, what are the things that are going to move me forward? Like, ultimately, and important doesn't always
How
mean
many of
urgent,
them? Because
right?
I read that there is shouldn't be too many of them, and it's called time blocking as well. Is that what you discover?
That's what I do. So I identify what's the most important things for me to do every day. And then exactly what you said, I time block it. So I basically have an hour block. So I have 8-hour blocks every day. So essentially I could fit 8 things in there, right? And what I try to do with my time blocks is I make each thing that fits in the time block, I make sure that it's achievable in the hour. So like, yeah,
Interesting.
so like, I don't say work on writing my book in an hour. I say work on writing 2 pages of my book or whatever it is that I'm doing. So that way it's an achievable goal. And at the end of the day, I could say, okay, I accomplished everything on my list. Now I can move on to the next day.
You know what's interesting? It's also called smaller rewards or small rewarding system. Basically, when you tell yourself, like, I want to climb the mountain, and then you climbing the mountain for weeks or months, you can become depressed real quick because you didn't achieve it fast enough. But if you tell yourself, I will climb up to this rock, or I will do that big task, which is have kind of like ending, and you can complete it. And when you complete it, you feel like you've done something. For example, like I gonna do 30 push-ups, but my ultimate goal, like do 100 push-ups. But if I will do 30 push-ups today, I gonna be rewarding myself and like eat, I don't know, like the piece of not chocolate.
Chocolate? Oh,
No,
no,
no.
not chocolate.
What people can reward themselves, like not too many calories. Piece of bread, no cake,
Oh,
no. I'll drink water. This is gonna be my reward
there
today.
you go.
Okay.
Yeah. Live big. Um, but yeah, that's also a really great way to do it, is say, okay, I'm going to work for an hour, 55 minutes, and then I'm going to get up and take a break, whatever it is that works for you. And something that I've learned as I work with people and teams and myself over the course of time is that what works for me now and in the capacity that I'm in right now might not work for someone else, or might not work for me like a year from now, but it works for me now. And like, this is the system that makes sense for me now. But ultimately it's that helps me be able to do all of these different things. Because when I talk to people and they're like, how do you have a YouTube channel and like 7 clients and like do project management coaching? It doesn't feel overwhelming to me. It feels totally manageable because I just think of things like in a time boxed day by day manner.
What if there is some emergency? For example, you have a client and there is something urgent, something that must be done today, and it's take you 1 more hour on top of your list.
Well, I would always ask, what makes it urgent? Like, why is this urgent? And why do I need to prioritize it? Right? Because just because something's thrown at us from out of the blue, it might not be urgent. And if it's something that, I mean, this happens where it's urgent for the client, but it's not, it falls outside of scope of the project. Maybe they realized that they want to make a change and they have to have it tomorrow because it's due. I want to make my client happy. Always. I want to make my client happy and I want to go above and beyond. But also what I've learned is that I have to have boundaries around that. And if that's something that we didn't agree to initially, and I don't have time for it in my day, then it will just have to wait. And you know, what's interesting is that I've found people respect you more when you have boundaries like that. Because like I say, I always want to make my clients happy and I always try to go above and beyond and be available. But you have to have boundaries, especially when you're working. Like, I know you have a lot of stuff going on too, and you have a lot of people that require your time. but you can't carry on like that indefinitely, just like giving your time to everyone who needs it when they need it. You have to have some boundaries. So I always like to understand what makes this urgent, and like, is there maybe a workaround that we could use for a day, 2 days, until we can get that more permanent solution in place? I sort of like to really dig into it and understand what the urgency is, what's the nature of it, and why do we need to do it right now?
That's smart. So how different the project management for businesses versus project management for people who build in their careers, for example, as an employee inside of the companies or organizations, or the personal project management for example, student or somebody who actually searching for their way in the life? Like, is it any difference? Like speaking about the time blocks and like the metrics that you use?
I think there's always different strategies that we can use for time management and prioritization. There's all kinds of different strategies we can use for that stuff, but project management, in and of itself, is pretty clear. Like with the frameworks, we have pretty clear stages of project management. That's one of the reasons why I like project management, is because it's just the framework doesn't change over time. It's how we do the work within the framework that does change, and that we can be flexible with, and create our own methods. Ultimately, that's what I suggest to project managers that I coach, is like, don't get too defined by a method or like a strategy. Figure out what works best for you and whatever project you're working with and team that you work with, because the more that it's your strategy and your method, the more second nature it will be for you, and the more successful you'll be at being able to carry out whatever strategy it is. But it's interesting because oh yeah, go ahead. You have a thought.
No. I'm just really curious to know how to become a project manager, or the best project manager, like the shortcut, the fast way to become a really effective project manager.
The fastest way. I mean, that's an interesting question, because I always say it takes experience, like it takes some trial and error. So I don't know that there's really a fast track to it, because a lot of what project management is like understanding yourself and how you interact with time and how you interact with other people, and figuring out how to create methods that work for you. So the fastest way, if you're looking for a fast track, I actually just talked to someone about this. If you're someone who's interested in getting into project management as a career, I would recommend starting out with a project coordinator role, because the coordinator role is usually a partner to a project manager, to a more senior project manager. So you could kind of learn alongside a project manager, and really get, like you're saying, a crash course in how does project management work, just by getting this project coordinator role.
If I understand you correctly, project coordinator is the person who kind of like doing the project management, but not the full cycle. So it's kind of
Exactly.
partially. Yes, makes
Yeah,
sense.
like like your project manager will be more in charge of communication with your
Right.
clients and with your stakeholders and things like that, and establishing a budget. But the project coordinator is the one who really carries out the tasks. They build the timeline, they create the deliverables, things like that.
Okay, cool. Well, that sounds really interesting. And what I learned from you right now is kind of like it's much easier to become a project manager, effective project manager, if you're effective with your own time management, if you're active with your own project and projects we can call daily tasks. What if I'll ask you to share the biggest secrets that you learn over the years, or maybe recently, that changed your life in terms of project management, like whatsoever?
I mean, honestly, no, it's interesting that you asked that, because I think about it a lot. Like over the past year, I've thought, why am I so good at project management? Why does it come naturally to me? And the realization that project management is a life skill. It's not just like a work skill, a school skill, a skill for professionals in certain industries, project management is a life skill. And this is what I teach to students too, because I teach high school students about project management, like the fundamentals of project management and time management. And what I teach them is that the earlier you learn this, that this is an actual life skill that you can apply to, I mean, your entire life. Like each day of our lives is a project, because a project, the definition of a project is a temporary endeavor with a unique purpose. It has a clear start and a clear end. So I think of every day of my life as a project. That's how I manage my life, is I think that every day is a project. And so the realization that that is the case, and I can create a framework for me to live my life and achieve my goals within that framework, which essentially is project management. It's made me a lot more passionate about this as a subject, as a career path, as something that I want to teach other people. I would say that that's like my biggest realization.
Interesting. Interesting. So consider your life as a project, break it down to the smaller tasks, reward yourself after completion of each of these tasks, and eventually you'll achieve incredible results.
Right.
That's interesting. If I decided to join your course, what will I learn?
Well, you will learn a lot about yourself. So the coaching that I do is very much centered around what type of project manager you want to be. We talk a lot about that, which is a question people don't consider often. What type of project manager? I have no idea.
What type of project manager could you be? Like, project manager is the project manager, period. No?
Right? Which is how most people think. But then when we start the coaching and it's like, okay, we have choices about the type of person we want to be in life. Why not have choices about the type of project manager we want to be? And what does that mean? So we really dig into that. We do some self-evaluation of ourselves in like the 10 biggest skill areas of project management. So we assess ourselves in those skills. Then sometimes we'll do a 360, which is getting feedback from people that we work with, which requires, you have to be strong to get that feedback from people that you work with. But ultimately, the goal is to become the best project manager we want to be, the project manager that's in alignment with our goals. So we work through that. We do 360, and then we identify areas that you might need training in project management, and we tackle those and go through the cycle again. We assess ourselves again, see where we're at, how are we making progress, and again and again. It in itself is a project.
Of course.
The course, right?
Right. Everything is a little project. So speaking about the project management, daily project management, do you have 1 or 2 tips that you can share in the end of this podcast, in the end of this call?
Yeah, I would say my biggest tips are the one that I mentioned at the beginning of the day. Make your day manageable. Okay, so figure out what you want to achieve every day. What's going to move the needle for you? That's how you know it's important. Okay, because we could spend our day on all kinds of stuff that's not really leading us to our goals. So figure out what your goals are. What are your expectations for yourself? And they could be anything, right? Like there's no right or wrong goal, but figure out what that is and then set your day up so that you can actually achieve those things. I would also say the other thing that I mentioned earlier, making sure that your tasks are like bite-sized enough. Yeah, so you can achieve them. Those are the biggest tips that I have seen have really helped people start to achieve things. The other thing would be focus more on solutions and not problems, especially when you're working with a team. Don't come to the team with all of your problems, come to the team with your solutions. That really changes the dynamic of your team and, what you're getting done.
That's really smart. I love this. Yeah, I even know that in some companies, the directors or managers, like in C-level, they have I just raised my head. They have a kind of like the board right near the door saying that if you have a problem, don't get to me or don't talk to me until you come up with at least 2 or 3 solutions. As stupid as they are, But as soon as persons start to thinking kind of like the solution way, even if he's trying to figure it out like the stupidest solution just to go to talk to the manager, he actually will come up with a couple of good ideas, because our brain is such an interesting thing that it actually can give you really interesting answers, even if it's kind of like unknown territory.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. It shifts your mindset for sure to go from problem focused to solution focused.
Well, let's focus on solution, my friends. And thank you so much, dear Kayla, for being here with us and sharing your life secrets, life hacks, and how to become a successful project manager, not just at home, not just in real life, but in your business or career building.
My pleasure. Good to be here.
Absolutely. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye. Hey guys, hope you enjoyed that. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.